Greetings, Carmel Presbyterian Church. Peter Barnes here in the sanctuary. Boy, I love being here this past Sunday. And you are obviously a church that loves the Lord and loves the Word. And it's fun to preach in a congregation like that. And remember, bad sermons are the curse of a prayerless congregation. So please keep praying for me as I craft and deliver sermons each week. I really need your prayers and would covet them. You know, last Sunday in my sermon, I talked about the first of the I am statements of Jesus, where he said, I am the light of the world. And it's interesting to note that this is the only statement that Jesus made concerning himself that he also made of his followers, where you recall that he says in the Sermon on the Mount, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Well, how is it that we are what Jesus himself was? Well, our light is a derived light. It comes from another source. The light that we have isn't from ourselves, it comes from God. Ours is a borrowed light, and it's derived from another source. Think of the sun and the moon. The moon has no light in and of itself. It remains in darkness. And it's only as it radiates the light of the sun that it shines brightly. And so it is with you and me. Now, sometimes we are a crescent moon for Christ. Sometimes we are a full moon. Sometimes we're an eclipsed moon where really can't be seen the light through us. And we should determine in our hearts that we're going to be rid of anything that stands between us and Jesus so that we can reflect the light of Christ as fully as we possibly can. But you know, it's interesting, as we think in terms of reflecting the light of Christ, we can't take any credit for the light that shines in us. It really comes from God. For many years, James Montgomery Boyce was the pastor of 10th Presbyterian Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And he tells the story about the time when he was growing up and went to camp, and he and his friends would stay up at night in his cabin and sometimes have flashlight wars. When the lights were out in the cabin, they would pull out their flashlights and they would shoot rays of light at each other. And then they would also try to compare which flashlight was the brightest. One night they stayed up till dawn, all night long, shooting flashlights and comparing to see whose was the brightest. But he discovered that as the sun began to rise, it became more and more difficult to distinguish which flashlight was the brightest, until eventually you really couldn't see them shining at all. As he reflected upon that experience, he said, you know, that's the way it is with us. Even our brightest lights that may shine in each of us in this world pales in comparison to the light of Jesus, the Son of God. And so it invites us to humility, to realize that any good, any light that shines from our lives, really we need to give credit to God. And our brightness pales in comparison to the brightness of Jesus, the light of the world. You know, I pray that you will be blessed as you think about Jesus being the light of the world this week. And I look forward to seeing you again this next Sunday, where we're going to talk about the next of the I am statements. And that's where we'll consider where Jesus said, I am the bread of life. We're also going to be celebrating communion, and how appropriate it is that we would consider this saying on Communion Sunday. Hope to see you there. God bless you and have a very good week.